Let's build the ultimate artificer in Dungeons & Dragons. I'm talking full optimization here with species, background, class, subclass, and even any feats. Because the newer Eberron book updated the artificer, and there's some new subclasses, and they updated some old ones. If you want to follow along, there's character sheets available on Patreon, but let's dive in, starting with the species. There's a lot of great choices for a species for an artificer, and that's kind of the hardest part because there's so many choices. But with the artificer build that we're going to be doing, you need to be very mobile and be able to keep your distance when needed. And if we can have a way to boost up some damage or maybe even some healing, that's even better. So the best route to go for a species is going to be an Aasimar, because this covers all of our bases. First, it gives us some healing when we need it, with healing hands giving us a handful of D4s that we can use to heal ourselves or somebody else. We get a couple resistances, being resistant to necrotic and radiant damage, but most importantly, we get Celestial Revelation, which gives us a few awesome options. Unfortunately, we just have very limited uses of it. That's the biggest downside here. But once per long rest, so save this for a big fight, you can activate your Celestial Revelation, getting extra bonus damage once per turn for an amount equal to your proficiency bonus, which is a very solid amount of damage you can wind up adding on top of everything else we're going to do with this build, because trust me, we're going to do plenty of damage. And then while you're transformed, you have one of three options. You can frighten people, which you don't want to use that much. That's probably the least useful of these three. Another option for your Celestial Revelation transformation is Inner Radiance, which is a good option if you're up close and personal. That's the big downside here, because it does damage to any creatures that you choose within 10 feet of you for an amount equal to your proficiency bonus. What we will probably use this for the most is Heavenly Wings. It gives you a flying speed equal to your walking speed, and you don't need to concentrate on it. It is just straight up flying whenever you need it. And then we get to choose a background, and the background's going to work both for what you most likely want to roleplay as an artificer, as well as helping out our ability scores and the feat that comes along with it, because every background in 2024 and beyond has a feat that's paired with it. So we're going to choose the merchant background. Kind of makes sense that an artificer may or may not be a merchant. They make magical objects, so they'll probably want to sell them sometimes. This will give you skill proficiencies in animal handling and persuasion, which will probably be the least helpful part of this build, but it does give you the lucky feat. This gives us a number of luck points equal to your proficiency bonus, and you can spend them to give yourself advantage or force an enemy to have disadvantage when attacking you. I highly recommend using it to grant yourself advantage whenever you need it though. And then most importantly, this background does boost up our constitution and intelligence, which are very important stats as an artificer. Then we get to dive into the actual artificer stuff. Their saving throws are constitution and intelligence. Constitution is super helpful because that's going to help with our concentration checks. They get proficiency with simple weapons, and they get access to light and medium armor, as well as shields. They also get some tool proficiencies, so you can get thieves tools in case there's no rogue in your party, and we get to choose a set of tools. So we're going to grab smith's tools because that's generally the most beneficial as far as money making goes in D&D. Because if you can make some plate armor at some point, that is big gold in D&D. Then we get to choose two skills. We're going to grab investigation and arcana. They're both intelligence skills, so they're really going to benefit from our high intelligence throughout this build. Now, artificers are half casters, so you get some spell casting right away, but I want to save most of the early spells for after we get to choose our subclass, because that's going to dictate how you want to build out your spells, because the subclass you choose will dictate where you're placed in the battle, and where you're placed in the battle really matters when it comes to what type of spells you have available. Also at first level, you get Tinker's Magic, so you can make some basic stuff that you might need, whether it's some rope or a grappling hook, or I have somebody I play with that constantly uses caltrops. But since I am optimizing every aspect of this build, you're gonna want ball bearings and caltrops and hunting traps more than anything. That is what you're gonna need for this build to be as optimized as possible. Trust me. Then at second level of being an artificer, you get replicate magic item. Now this has a ton of choices. You get to make tons of magical items to use for yourself or dish them out to your party. But we're focusing on you here as the artificer, and we're just going to focus on the magic items you can have built at any given time, because you can learn to make more magic items than you can build at one time. So Right now, you can only have 2 active at a time, so we're going to be utilizing a shield because you need as much help with your armor class as possible because you have that low health. So we're going to boost up your shield with a +1 shield, making it so your maximum armor class is going to be 20. Because you can have medium armor, bringing you to half plate, plus having some dexterity to round that out to 17, then another 2 for a basic shield, another +1 on top of that. Then for the other magical item you want to replicate, go with a Wand of the War Mage +1. This makes it so any of your spell attack rolls ignore half cover and get a +1 to their accuracy, making you far more reliable to hit. Then at 3rd level of Artificer, you get to choose an Artificer subclass. And there's a bunch of really awesome options, so let's run through them. First, there's the more healing focused and support type of Artificer, which is the Alchemist, all about making potions and stuff. This used to be borderline unusable in the older version of the Artificer. Now it's better, but it's still not the optimal choice. There's the newly added Cartographer, which is all about making maps and really utilizing Fairy Fire, which is a highly underutilized spell, giving advantage on a large group of enemies, but it's kind of niche and it has a bunch of spells that don't help you as much as I feel like it should. And it's more about keeping track of your allies. Although there is a high level feature from a Cartographer that basically gives everybody in your party an extra life when you need it. But that is all the way at level 15 and a lot of campaigns never get that high. There's the Battlesmith, which is pretty cool because it's essentially you building a robot companion that helps you in battle. And you have some bonus action ways to deal some extra damage and heal. But it's a little bit lacking in both of those aspects compared to other builds. The top 2 options are the Armorer and the Artillerist. The Armorer is kind of the coolest one, I'm not gonna lie. You can have 3 types of armor. Whether you want Infiltrator armor to send out like a shocking taser gun while at the same time being better at stealth like your Batman or something, or you have Guardian armor in case you want to wear the Hulkbuster armor and be more like Iron Man, or they added straight up mechs or like Mobile Suit Gundams in D&D by adding the Dreadnought armor, allowing you to grow in size and smash down on your enemies. The big issue here is that only the Guardian armor really utilizes your bonus action a lot, and there's not much else for an Artificer to do with their bonus action most of the time. And even the Guardian armor just allows you to get some temp HP when you're at half health or below. It's kind of suffering from the being so versatile. It's not hyper good at one thing, but it's pretty good at a lot of stuff, like being a shapeshifter druid in WoW. So while that is one of the coolest subclasses, it's not the optimal one. It's not the ultimate build. The ultimate choice is the Artillerist. The Artillerist automatically gets access to martial ranged weapons, even though we're not going to use that because that's not the optimal choice. This is the optimal build here. You gain proficiency with woodcarver's tools by default, and you can craft wands more easily, and you get some great default spells by choosing this subclass, because this subclass is all about staying at range and making sure that you can attack from afar, like an absolutely awesome sniper, while at the same time having enough defensive options to keep you out of trouble. So we want to enhance every possible aspect of this with our spells. By default, you get access to shield to help shield yourself and give yourself a +5 to your armor class, meaning that with your current armor class, you can have up to 25 armor. And by default, you also get Thunder Wave. So if an enemy does get too close to you, you can activate Thunder Wave and push them away. But as far as spells to actually add to your spell list by choice, when it comes to cantrips, you want some good ranged attacks. So grab Firebolt for some straight up damage that's pretty easy. It's just 1d10 per rank of the cantrip. Grab Ray of Frost, which does slightly less damage and only has a 60-foot range, but we'll deal with that later. However, it does reduce your enemy's speed by 10 feet when they get hit with this, meaning that you're keeping enemies away from you for longer. Then you also want to grab Guidance. This is just going to allow anybody that you want, including yourself, to get a bonus 1d4 to any ability check they're doing. Now, there is one other cantrip. I mentioned that we would be ignoring martial weapons most of the time, but there's one caveat there. Sometimes in a campaign, you do happen to get really good weapons you just can't ignore. So if you come across an insanely good martial ranged weapon and you want to use it, go for it. But you don't want to deal with the ability scores and stuff that you're going to have to boost up, because you don't want to keep throwing stuff into dexterity. So also grab the cantrip True Strike just in case you need to. This allows you to use your intelligence modifier for your attack and damage rolls, and also add on additional radiant damage when you hit with the weapon. Then there's 4 first level spells that I want to make sure we add. First is Cure Wounds, to heal yourself or an ally. You just want to make sure that's handy. The second is that even though you're at range, if you get hit with a ranged attack, chances are it might be elemental damage. So grab the spell Absorb Elements. This will give you resistance to that type of element for that attack, and then you can transfer that into your next attack. Then I already highlighted that Fairy Fire is a good spell, and it's even better if you're playing more of a sniper style character. So grab Fairy Fire. It'll give you advantage on a huge group of enemies. Then the last spell I would grab from first level is a spell that does not get enough love. It's Tasha's Caustic Brew. If anybody gets remotely close to you, or if you're in the long hallway or anything where you can hit a bunch of people in a line, Tasha's Caustic Brew just sprays acid across a huge line of people. If they fail on a dex save, they're coated in acid and take 2d4 acid damage every single turn, unless they take their action to wipe away the icky acid that's destroying them, meaning that they're either taking damage or they're ruining their action economy. It's a great spell. And then finally, the most important feature you get from being an artillerist is an Eldritch Cannon. This thing is an absolute beast. You can take a magic action to create this Eldritch Cannon. You can either set it up like a turret, or you can carry it if you want to. And you can activate it as a bonus action, meaning that you are optimizing every single turn by using a cantrip or spell as your action and using your Eldritch Cannon as your bonus action. You can command this cannon every turn on your bonus action as long as it's within 60 feet of you. And you can command it to move up to 15 feet. When you activate it, it can do one of 3 things. It can either do some AoE fire damage, spewing a flamethrower in a 15-foot cone. It can give a defensive field with its Protector feature, giving some temp HP equal to 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier to any creature within 10 feet of it. Or you can use Force Ballista. This has a 120-foot range and does 2d8 force damage, and if you hit a target with it, it's pushed 5 feet away. So if you set yourself up 120 feet from an enemy, set up your turret, and then blast them with a firebolt at 120 feet range. Then use your bonus action to set off your Force Ballista, hitting them again, doing 2d8 damage and pushing them 5 feet further away. They're going to take a super long time to try and make their way all the way to you. Then once they get within 60 feet, use your Ray of Frost, slowing them another 10 feet, meaning that you're reducing them by 15 feet every turn because you reduce their speed by 10 feet and push them 5 feet further away, just keeping yourself at range for even longer. But honestly, if you have a solid party setup where you have somebody that's more of a frontline attacker or a tank, make sure to give them the Eldritch Cannon and they can bring it with them and set them down nearby, because then that can do some flamethrower attacks or Force Ballista attacks, and at the same time they can still protect that ally if they need to in that situation. And either way, you are staying as far back as possible. And enhancing this even further, at 4th level we're going to get an ability score improvement. So we're going to pick up a feat and go with Spell Sniper. We are really hammering in on this sniper build. This will allow us to boost up our intelligence by 1 point. So here is our ability scores. Then we're throwing that 1 point into intelligence. Then, by taking Spell Sniper, we get a bunch of features. First is Bypass Cover, so we can ignore 1/2 and 3/4 cover for any enemy that we're attacking with a spell attack roll. Next, we get Casting in Melee. So if you want to cast a ranged attack against a nearby enemy that managed to get close to you before they died, you can still attack them without being at a disadvantage. But finally, the most powerful part is increased range. So if you have a ranged spell attack that is at least 10 feet in range, you can now add 60 feet to it. So your Ray of Frost now can reach 120 feet, and your Firebolt can go 180. Then at 5th level of Artificer, you get Arcane Firearm. So you can enhance a martial weapon that is a ranged weapon if you want to, or you can use an actual firearm, which they added in D&D. But the best route to go is to enhance a wand, because your spells and your long range cantrips are probably going to be the best option most of the time. You can carve a sigil into your wand, enhancing the amount of damage it does, allowing you to enhance any damage you deal with any sort of spell through your wand by an extra 1d8. Also at 5th level, you get access to 2nd level spells as an Artificer. So you get Scorching Ray, which allows you to shoot out a bunch of fiery rays. And now the range of those rays are just a lot longer, boosting them by another 60 feet. And since you need at least one good AoE attack as often as possible, you also get Shatter. It's just a big boom that you can set off. It's like a concussive grenade, essentially. But when it comes to spells, you can actually choose. I would definitely grab Aid. It's just another way to boost up your party with a little bit more health. And you can use any health you can get. Grab Magic Weapon, which is more to just enhance an ally. It's not really for you. You don't need that. But the last spell you definitely want is Heat Metal. If you come up against any enemy that's wearing metal armor, Heat Metal is guaranteed damage and it forces them to be at disadvantage constantly. 6th level of Artificer gives you Magic Item Tinker, so you have the ability to charge up magic items that require any sort of charges in them. You can drain charges from a magic item to refuel some spell slots, or you can turn one magic item into another magic item that you know of. Also at 6th level, you get to choose some new magic items you can create, and you can now have 3 magic items at a time. So swap your +1 shield for a repulsion shield. This is also a +1 shield, but now it has an added effect of being able to push away enemies. So you have your shield, you have your wand, and you just keep pushing away enemies, having enhanced armor class and blasting away at them. Also at this level, you can get some enhancements to your armor, giving you a +1 bonus to that half plate you're wearing, boosting up your armor class to 21 now. And if you want an additional option, grab a spell refueling ring. We won't need this very much, but it's good to have in case you find yourself not needing one of your other magic items as often. 7th level of Artificer gives you Flash of Genius, allowing you to add your intelligence modifier to a failed ability check or saving throw, which can be an absolute lifesaver. And you can apply this to yourself or a creature you can see. And you can do this a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. 8th level of Artificer gives us another ability score improvement, so let's just go ahead and throw 2 more points into intelligence, because that is our main focus for right now. And then 9th level of Artificer, thanks to being an artillerist, gives us Explosive Cannon. And this is where things start to get a little more fun, because if the cannon takes damage, you can command it to detonate. It's essentially turning it into a landmine at that point, doing a 20-foot radius AoE of an explosion, forcing a dex saving throw and dealing 3d8 force damage. But on top of that, your overall damage with your cannon is enhanced. Both the extra healing that it can do with the protector feature, as well as the force ballista and the flamethrower, all get enhanced by an additional 1d8. So now you're dealing 3d8 every single bonus action, whether that's 3d8 of healing or 3d8 of damage. Also at this level, you get access to 3rd level spells. And this is where things get really good. You get access to Wind Wall, which is great as a defensive spell. You can throw that up in front of you and have a defensive barrier that you can shoot through in case there's projectiles coming at you. And overall, it's just a great defensive option. But you also get Fireball, because it's Fireball. You always want Fireball. It's a big AoE fiery ball. What's not to love? And then there's 3 spells I would choose. One is Fly, in case you don't have access to your radiant wings that you can activate being an Aasimar, or you've already used him or whatever. That will allow you to stay out of the battlefield even better, flying around and shooting down at your enemies. You can also grab Haste, which would mostly just be used for your allies, but if you do pick up a magic item that you want to utilize more than your wand, you can also use it then, because you can't use a magic action with haste. And the last one is Revivify. It's just a bit of safety net there. But the level 3 spells are what you're really going to want to remember, and it'll make sense in just a second. But first, you get Magic Item Adept, allowing you to attune to up to 4 magic items, while everybody else is stuck at just 3 magic items as their maximum. And you get some new magic items you can create. So you're going to want to change out your shield from a +1 repulsion shield to a +2 basic shield. The repulsion shield only pushed people a little bit, so the extra +1 to your armor class is going to be a bit of an improvement. This boosts your armor class to a total of 22. You're also going to want to upgrade your wand, boosting it to the Wand of the War Mage +2, giving you a +2 bonus to all of your accuracy with your spell attack rolls. You are an insanely accurate sniper. Then finally, grab the Cloak of Protection. This is another +1 to your armor class. This doesn't show up on the default list but it is an uncommon magic item, so you're able to create it at level 10. This will boost up your armor class to 23. Frankly, I was tempted to go with a Warforged earlier because they get another +1 to their armor class, but I think it would make more sense if you want to boost up your damage and be able to fly as an Aasimar. So I think we made the right choice. Now at 11th level, you get something that is insanely powerful, like unreasonably so, because you get a spell storing item. So you can store a first, second, or third level spell into an item, and then you can cast it from that item a number of times equal to twice your intelligence modifier. But you don't even have to be the one casting it. You can give it to somebody else to cast for you. You should keep in mind, you have access to Fireball. So this essentially gives you 10 free castings of Fireball. Absolutely bonkers. Like, that is nuts. That is so many fireballs to be able to set off over and over again without ever using a spell slot. And you should keep in mind that if you give this to somebody like a sorcerer, they can still cast, and it's not using a spell slot, so they can use 2 spells in a single turn by using the quickened cast metamagic option, so they can cast a spell as an action and use a bonus action to cast an actual leveled spell. It is one of the most powerful features that an Artificer gets, and it needs to be highlighted as much as possible. Then at 12th level of Artificer, you get access to another ability score improvement. So let's throw 2 points into Constitution. We don't need any other ability scores. That's just what's going to help us the most with our health and our concentration checks. At 13th level, we get access to 4th level spells. So we're going to grab Summon Construct. This will allow you to summon a robot to send into battle for you, and they can be on the front lines while you're still attacking from far away. And if you want, you can still give them a bunch of temp HP with the Protector version of your Eldritch Cannon. Then you definitely want someplace that's safe to sleep. It is something that doesn't get highlighted enough, and it's important in every possible campaign. There's been so many times where my party has been robbed in their sleep. So grab Mordenkainen's Private Sanctum. You, as an Artificer, can build and have access to more artisan tools than most. So grab the spell Fabricate. This will allow you to take any raw materials and turn them into any basic item, but if you have the ability to use the artisan tools and have proficiency with any type of artisan tools, you can immediately turn something into whatever you'd be able to create with those artisan tools. So if you have the raw materials to make plate armor, you can just cast this spell and immediately create it. This means that you are breaking economies. And by default, thanks to being an Artificer, you also get Wall of Fire, which is great. It's just a solid blockade you can put in front of you when you need to. Or if you want to make sure that you're not getting swarmed, you just put it between most of your enemies and yourself and just make sure you're more of a one-on-one fight. But then you can also have Ice Storm by default. And this is a great way to start the battle. You get all set up and then you fire off Ice Storm. It does a bunch of damage in an area of effect and also slows down your enemies, so they're already moving slower from the get-go. Then you can keep blasting them from range and shooting them with your wand and just destroying them non-stop. 14th level of being an Artificer gives you Advanced Artifice. So you get Magic Item Savant, allowing you to attune to up to 5 magic items now, which everybody else is still stuck at just 3. And you get Refreshed Genius, allowing you to regain your Flash of Genius on a short rest, but only 1 expended use this way. Also at 14th level, you get access to some more magic items to create. So boost up your armor from a +1 to a +2. This is going to boost your armor class to 24. And just to make it go absolutely nuts and make it so people just can't even hit you anymore, grab a Ring of Protection as well, giving you another +1 to your armor class, bringing your armor class to 25. And if you need to cast shield, it brings it up to 30. And if anybody's hitting you at 30, your Dungeon Master just hates you. But the Ring of Protection also boosts up all of your saves by +1 as well, which is super helpful to have. And add that on top of the fact that you have Flash of Genius to add another +5 from your intelligence. It's gonna really make it so you save on pretty much everything. Then at 15th level of being an Artillerist, you get double firepower. So you can actually set up 2 cannons at the same time, and you can fire them off at the same time as well. And they don't even have to be the same thing. One can do protection and the other one can be a force ballista, or one can be a flamethrower, or whatever combo you want. But that means 3d8 damage twice as your bonus action. And then you can still fire off a firebolt, which once you get to max level, that is 4d10 worth of damage plus another 1d8 from your enhancements of being an Artillerist. So that is tons of damage without ever using a single spell slot. unless you still want to use your spell storing item and you're still not using a spell slot, but just letting off massive explosions anyways. And then on top of that, at this level, it has another feature called Shimmering Field Projection. So you and your allies have half cover while within 10 feet of your Eldritch Cannon. And half cover means you get a +2 bonus to your armor class as well as your dexterity saving throws. So your armor class, by default, near one of your Eldritch Cannons is now 27. And all of your allies are getting benefits too now, which is nuts. Then at 16th level of Artificer, you get another ability score improvement. So let's throw 2 more points into Constitution, making that even better and giving you tons of health, and it's solid. Then at 17th level, you get access to 5th level spells. As an artillerist, you get Cone of Cold. It's a little closer range than you might like people to get, but it's a ton of damage to blast out in a cone from you. And to make sure nobody's getting to you if you really need to, you can set up a wall of force. Just make sure to set up your Eldritch Cannons on the other side of that wall. That way they're stuck getting shot over and over again and you're just safe inside your little bubble. But when it comes to some spells you can choose, grab Animate Objects to summon a bunch of objects to come to life and attack your enemies for you at range, and Big B's Hand. Big B's Hand is another giant summoned that can destroy your enemies and grab them and punch them and do whatever you need them to do. Then at 18th level of Artificer, you get Magic Item Master. So you can attune to up to 6 magic items, literally twice as much as everybody else. And it's kind of game breaking to the point that I've hardly even allowed Artificers in a lot of my games because I had a lot of magic items most of the time, and that would absolutely bust my games. And frankly, I hardly know how to deal with an Artificer in those situations. And then at 19th level of Artificer, you get access to another ability score improvement, but we can choose an epic boon. And being a half caster, the majority of our casting is going to be 1st through 4th level because we only get 2 5th level slots. So the best way to amp up our overall abilities and be as optimized as possible is grabbing the boon of Spell Recall. This gives us a 25% chance to get a free casting of any spell that is 1st through 4th level. If you mix that with the fact that you can cast any 3rd level spell 10 times for free, this is an insane amount of spell casting, especially for a half caster, on top of everything else you can do as an artillerist, just lighting people up from far away and being an ultimate sniper. And finally, to deal with any risks, you get Soul of Artifice. This gives you cheat death, so you can give up one of your magic items, destroying it, but making it so instead of going to 0 health, you get a bit of health back, getting 20 health for every magic item that you allowed to be destroyed. And you get magical guidance. So if you finish a short rest, you get all of your uses of your Flash of Genius back. That is the most optimized way to play as an Artificer. You want to be an artillerist. You want to be a sniper at range, making sure nobody ever hits you. You want to set up both of your cannons and fire away from as far away as possible. Slow down your enemies, set up blockades, and keep pushing them back over and over again. It might infuriate your dungeon master, but they allowed you to play an Artificer, so it's just kind of what's going to happen sometimes. There's a character sheet available for this up on my Patreon, linked in the comments and description down below. But if you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button, and I'll be here hoping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session.